to the chairperson, Mr. Santivu sir, may I request Mr. K. Bhat, who is also Vice President and Senior Advocate and former Additional Advocate General, to speak something about a person who is sitting with us, Mr. Santivu sir, who is a command role, and I'll just give the charge to Mr. Bhat to speak a word or two about Mr. Santivu.
Friends, I think most I'm speaking about some historical facts. Probably many of you might not have been born then. 1973-74, I don't want to start before that, because I read Mr. Shantibhushan's autobiography, so I know many facts which are not needed here. But after 1973, he fought the election case, challenged the election of Mrs. Indira Gandhi before the Allahabad High Court, and succeeded, and as a direct consequence, the constitutional machinery were all suspended and an emergency was declared in 1975 June. I don't know whether many of you know such a fact, but in any case, Mr. Shantibhushan was the cause of all those things.
So we were behind the bar.
I see. Some of you might be. That's right. Some of you might be. That's right. So, and then of course after the 77 elections, he became the law minister. He showed that if there is a will, there is a way. The constitution was brutally mauled by the 42nd Amendment, which if you want to look at the history, you can see that what it was. So Shantibhushan very quickly undid all of it, just to show that if there is a will to do it, legislation is possible very fast. Then of course, later on, he became joined our profession to which he always belonged and continues with us. And now, such of you who might have seen the television coverage, etc., is often seen with Mr. Anna Hazare in that particular Jana Lokpal, that Andolan. So he has kindly consented to be among us, to give his views and also to conduct the proceedings now. So this is all just a few facts I had to tell, because I must tell you one more, because recently when I went to Shimla for a talk, I mentioned about a telegram. Most people did not know what a telegram is. So they don't know what a telegram is. Telegram was long ago gone. In these days of SMS and this particular thing, telegram is gone. So Mr. Divan told that, look, don't make the same mistake. Tell them who Mr. Shantibhushan is.
Before I start the proceedings and ask the learned speakers to address on the topic, very important topic that all of us are considering today, I would like to mention something. Mr. Bhat is extremely kind to me. It is not only this afternoon that he had shown his favoritism to me. Let me tell you, in 79, when Morarji government collapsed and he resigned, the very next day, he came to me and gave me a brief so that I will have something to live by. Thank you, Mr. Bhat, for always being kind to me. So, well, it's a very important topic that we are discussing, because all of us know why, even though the public knows what kind of corruption is taking place, what kind of money laundering is going on, and there are very able institutions like CBI, etc., but none of those crimes are being properly investigated. if an important political leader is behind those scams, there's good reason why they are not being investigated. And that was the rationale for our proposing the Jethamalani bill, which received such a tremendous applause all over the country. Some Congress people think that Andolan has died down. They are not aware that Andolan is living in the hearts and minds of the people of India. And they will show at the right time as to what to do about it. They have shown it in the UP elections. They didn't have much of a choice. But they regarded Congress party as the villain of the whole thing. And therefore they defeated the Congress party to such an extent in UP that they don't know as to how to stand. Even in the constituencies of Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, namely Raebareli, Amethi, where there were 10 assembly constituencies. They were their pocket boroughs, but they were able to win only 2 out of those 10. And the reason why this happened was, it was in these 2 constituencies in UP that the members of the India Against Corruption campaign of Nazare had carried on a referendum in those 2 constituencies on Jethamalani bill, and the result was that more than 90% people voted in favor of the Jethamalani bill. At that time, the Congress leaders like Kapil Sibal, Chidambaram said, well, nothing is going to affect the mind of the voter. But they are today, I don't know whether this truth they are recognizing or not. It sunk in the mind of the common voter that these people want to protect corruption, and that is why they are not passing the Jethamalani bill or a bill of that kind, which will vest powers of investigation in a wholly independent authority, independent from the government. They were not passing it. This truth sunk in the minds and hearts of people, and the Congress has paid the price today in the UP elections. Now Rahul Gandhi, according to the newspapers, is trying to find out the reason. I had said at that time that if the Congress party had enacted the Lokpal bill exactly in the form in which it had been recommended by us, they would have swept the elections. They could have won the next election of 2014 in the parliament on this team, because the entire people who were supporting this movement, they would have appreciated and given their votes to the Congress party. But the Congress party had a dilemma. They realized that if we pass this kind of a bill, we might win the next election. But the next elections might come in 2014. Before that, the Lokpal, perhaps many of us would be in jail. And that was their dilemma, which prevented them from giving an independent authority, which was the requirement of the UN Convention, to which India was a signatory, but they only ratified that convention in 2011, after this movement had begun. But even after ratifying this treaty, all the provisions are contrary to that convention. We can understand the dilemma. But in any case, history is not going to forgive them, and the history will tell them whenever the next parliamentary elections come that the Congress party will be nowhere. This is my proposition. I request Mr. Bhat to please give his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. President. And the heading of the topic is very ambitious. Undoubtedly, you need a very independent investigating agency, independent supervisory or the oversight agency, etc., etc. But the question is where to get them from. After listening to the presentation, both in the morning when electoral malpractices were highlighted, and in the afternoon session where black money, the situation was so vividly explained that one may start wondering, is there any role for a police or any system here where the whole system has been eroded by such massive malpractices? And as in both the sessions it was pointed out, the machinery can be amended, modified, as everybody knows, but nobody wants to do it. It is like the old story of Thomas Alva Edison, whom you may know as one of the greatest inventors in the history, who had more than 500 patents to his name. The person who invented electric bulb and so many things. He devised a voting machine. He made it and told that it is entirely tamper-proof. Nobody can manage to do it. So he went and gave it to the chairman of the American Senate and said that please try. There was no reply. After about 6 months, he went personally and said that is it not tamper-proof? He said yes. That's why we don't want it. So anything which is tamper-proof and which is foolproof is not needed. Just for example, just to give you a small history, in 1943, immediately around the time of when the Second World War was still going on, to prevent or to deal with the corruption in the military basically, and central government stores in particular. So military corruption is not new now, it was there then also. By an ordinance, they established a special police establishment, which was decided to be continued even after 1945, after the war ended, in the form of a Delhi Special Police Establishment Act, what we call it the CBI. You may be knowing that CBI is not something which has come from the different world. It has got no cadre of its own. The police people are taken on deputation from various state services and then recruited there. But because of this system, which did not permit many interference on day-to-day affairs, it earned a reputation. And even today, people say that there must be a CBI inquiry or there is a judicial inquiry. Because both the institutions have somehow got the confidence of the people to an extent. But then, as in the morning it was pointed out, the bureaucrats of our country are the most intelligent lot. They found that having an independent police force is not conducive to their activities. So they gave several directives, etc., and made it into one directive, popularly known as a single directive. And this single directive was that people above the rank of joint secretary or somebody, what they call it, the decision-making level, could not be investigated unless there is a previous sanction of the head of the department or somebody. That sanction would normally not come. So the investigation did not take place. Matter was challenged in the Supreme Court, and in 1997, Mr. Divan was one of the advocates who was appeared as an amicus curiae in that. Vineet Narayan's case as we know, struck down that single directive, telling that it is opposed to Article 14, not that it is an executive instruction. You can't have that type of classification. But lo and behold, within about 2 years, This happened in 1997, December. 2003, the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act itself was amended. Section 6A was added, exactly bringing in the entire single directive as a provision, stating that you cannot inquire. So, an investigating agency which is envisaged or designed to be independent was there, but they made it against Mr. Divan again challenged it, and I am told that it is still pending. When you say that it is still pending, at least I don't know why a matter like this of such significance, if it is not allowed to be heard by the court, normally, as I can understand it, whatever in Vineet Narayan's case has been said about the single directive equally applies to this Section 6A amendment. So the strengthening of the police force, it is needed. But like Edison's voting machine, nobody wants it. Nobody makes people in power, people who can control. You and I may need it because we are unlikely to be the subject matter of their attention. That is different. But this is where we stand today. Some effort, whatever the investigating, and then Central Vigilance Commission as a oversight authority or overseeing authority was originally envisaged way back in 1964 through a cabinet resolution. And then after Vineet Narayan's case, it was given a statutory status. And the very first appointment under the 2003 Act came to be challenged before the Supreme Court, and it set aside as it was told in the morning. But anyway, that institution is there. It had no time to show any of its efficacy in the under the statutory form. Having been dissatisfied with all these things, another agency which has been cropping up and going down time and again was this Lokpal as an institution to oversee both the police and also to make investigation, and this was the idea which was there for many. Now I think about 4 decades it has been there, coming up, Lokpal Bill 1, 2, 3, etc. It had come and gone. Now thanks to Anna Hazare and their movement, the attention of the public is undoubtedly there. And with great respect to my friend Mr. Shanti Bhushan, I don't want to make this into a debating forum on the particular thing. While the government may not, government means basically most of the, without any fear of calling up the contempt of court like Kejriwal, contempt of parliament, I will share with you that most of our lawmakers are not equipped to understand the intricacies one way or the other. They go by the advice, and they are guided by the advice of the bureaucracy. And they might have told them that, look, we will make it in such a way that it is there, but not there. That type of thing. It is equally at the same time, it is there somewhere, but no harm it will be doing to them. So right from the details apart, I don't want to, as I said, to convert this into a debate on the Lokpal bill, whichever it is. Undoubtedly, what the bill which has been passed by the Lok Sabha and is about to be debated before the Rajya Sabha, that may not serve the purpose. That is certainly no doubt. While one may have a lot of reservation against what the Jan Lokpal bill has said, that is a different topic altogether. But the fact remains that one is at the crossroad to find out what can we do about this. Because you take out any newspaper, any news channel, whatever you look at, It is the only news about corruption, corruption, corruption. Because just think about anywhere. Because today what we said, in the afternoon about the black money, what has been stated is even 10% of it is true. Corruption is not limited only to the government offices or something. It has become a part of it, industrialist